So it's my pleasure to invite on stage a real youth worker from Slovenia, Matevž Straus. He will bring us lots of insights around social innovation in youth work based on the work they do in their organization. And welcome on stage, Matevž.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. We actually never considered ourselves as innovative because we were just doing what we thought is good. So it's hard yet to talk about how to be innovative when you never planned to be innovative. And maybe it makes sense. We shouldn't think, we shouldn't plan for innovation. Let's be innovative now. Maybe we should create an environment when this just happens. Okay, so the photos that you'll be showing around are just random photos from our projects, and I'll start by admitting something that I think at the end of this talk it will be quite clear to you. I am obsessed with my hometown, and people that know me can probably confirm this. It is neither the greatest nor the most beautiful nor the most rich town in Slovenia, but for me it is the most interesting town for me. It has the greatest history, and this is where we come from. It has a history of 500 years of history of mercury mining, and you can imagine that mercury mining can have good consequences but also bad consequences. And the good ones are, of course, that this town in that direction, in a small valley, was a home of scientists, engineers, doctors, miners from the whole Central Europe. And in a way, it was a cosmopolitan town for 500 years. It was a home of social innovators and of technological innovators, technical innovators, because in this small valley you had to create something meaningful. But of course it has some problems at the moment, and mercury mining and the environmental effects are not the main problems. The main problems are structural problems such as population decline, outmigration of youth, and lack of jobs that match the requirements and skills of young people. And but still, yeah, for me, this town is the most interesting town in the world, for me. I'm not, of course, the only one, and it was 8 years ago, in 2012, when a group of back then still students of architecture, marketing, communication, history, tourism, have started a project, a program. We called it Idrija 2020. Idrija is the name of the town, and 2020 back then still sounded visionary. Maybe now not so much. This association, it's a youth association, was always meant to be an experimental youth association because we wish to develop something that goes maybe beyond the traditional limits of what was back then understood as youth work, or at least in our context, what was understood as youth work. But of course it was also created because we thought that this environment, that this local community needs someone, something, some activities that would rethink its way of working, and that would in a way point to these important structural problems it has. And we saw that it can only be young people that do this, so that only young people can in a way tackle the biggest challenges of this town. So we've started with our project, and of course you might wonder, so where do we see what is beyond the traditional limits? So we've organized different activities ranging from trips to the inaccessible parts of the mercury mine, so 120 meters below the mine. We've published a visionary magazine. We've created a luxury jewelry brand inspired by the craftsmanship of lace making. We've worked with traditional miners' houses and how to renovate them. What else? Many things. We've worked on strategic levels. So we've created an urbanistic workshop where we have developed a vision for the town in the 21st century. And we've collaborated with the municipality of Idrija on how to work in the fields of youth and then in city development, and furthermore last year in tourism development. And we were young people, working with young people, but always with the intention of facilitating the development of the broader community, of the whole town. So we did care about the personal and interpersonal development of our members, of our colleagues, but we had this overarching goal. And I think that this is what maybe differs us from many of the other associations, that we had a bigger, much bigger goal, maybe too ambitious sometime. And we did this. We were working often by showcasing that things can be differently. So we've created a magazine about the town, the same year that the municipality created its own magazine about the town. And when you look at them in parallel, you saw a big difference in quality, in the way of thinking. And so it is, in a way, a provocation. A provocation that was not maybe harmful, but to the people that saw it, they understood it. What did I want to say? This is how we blended actually youth activities, so youth work, with urban development, with idea development. And we've, in a way, walked at the fringes of youth work. And we've always been with one leg in agenda setting, in policy development. And now when we try to think, why have we received several awards for our work? Maybe the most prominent of them being the winners at last year's European Social Innovation Competition. It was, I think, that for 3 reasons, and maybe later on we can discuss them, of course. One of them is that maybe in the times when youth sector is still seen as, by many, as a sort of a playground, as a sort of a bubble away from reality, and hopefully in your context it's seen differently. In these times we have been more serious, more professional, and maybe with higher standards of excellence than many of the professional organizations. And just to remind, we were and we still are all volunteers. And then secondly, in the times where young people are too often seen as you only live once hedonists, or that they too much live in the now, and now I'm talking about the maybe older generations, the way they see them. We have been talking about 10, 20 or 50-year strategies for our organizations and our communities. We've dared to talk about this big future that nobody else thought of. And thirdly, we actually never gave up on being this strange youth group that doesn't really fit in any of the boxes. I mean, we do youth work, but we, in Idrija, we are not considered youth workers. We work with art, but we are not really artists. And we do sell our services, but we are not a business. So if we try to think where does this story of our association lead us to, and what follows, is that we believe that the formula that we have been working on and that we have implemented in the last years in Idrija can be transferred in other regions. Of course, as with any solution, it needs to be adapted to the local context, but the general principles can work. And maybe we don't know the general principles yet, maybe it's the job of such events to define what are the general principles. And this is basically the idea of the Heritage Lab. The Heritage Lab was last year winner at European Social Innovation Competition, and it made us actually think about what if we do what we did for the last years, you know, what we have been doing previously. It was spontaneous, no plans on what to do when. It was just like this action, that action. But it made us think last year, what if we do these activities in a more structured and focused manner? So, and then inspire others to do similar things elsewhere. And our idea of the Heritage Lab is in a way an incubation program that helps young people develop new products and services, whether it be profit or non-profit, based on cultural heritage. And now you think, okay, cultural heritage, this is something very niche, right? I mean, it's who deals with cultural heritage? But basically, if you think about it, cultural heritage is one of the most equally distributed assets in Europe. All communities have it, and especially the smaller ones and the peripheral ones have it in a form of a potential, in a form of a often unused potential, in a form of an unpolished diamond. And we believe that this cultural heritage, and with cultural heritage we mean very broad definition of cultural heritage, so from gastronomy to actual monuments of cultural heritage, that cultural heritage can be of course a potential for local development of certain communities, but especially it can be a potential for the young people to play a prominent role in their communities. And this is where we see youth work should go to. I mean, it should be about putting young people in a position where they play a very prominent role in the development of their communities. So we're not just talking about young people developing themselves, but being big players in the local community. Because in our experience, this is the only way the community can grow. So this Heritage Lab basically builds on our experiences in the past few years, and on merging youth work, urban development, this tactical urban development, and business incubation. And we will be starting implementing it, although we have of course been doing this thing for the past years, this year in Idrija. Of course, we do not want to stop in Idrija, and we understand that if we want the idea to work, it should not work only in Idrija. It should be, it should have collaborators elsewhere. So in a way, we understand that we need to develop, in a way, a network of heritage labs, or they can be named otherwise, but in a way, a network of innovation catalysts that are bringing certain places, that are bringing innovation in certain places. And for us, youth work was always sort of a polishing of diamonds. Young people already are very creative, and they have the skills. What in a way we need to give them, and this is how we see it, of course, maybe not all of you agree, we need to give them mentorship, access to technologies, and here we work with a supercomputer company, Arctur, and of course the right policy attention and media attention that can, in a way, boost their ideas. And this is how we see that young people can become the generators of a new movement in certain places. Especially, I'm not talking here about the big cities and the big towns, of course. I'm talking about the smaller ones that are often forgotten, and where youth work needs to, in a way, tackle the bigger challenges of these towns, because no one else is tackling these challenges, because no one else deals with youth outmigration. And if it's not youth work who does this, and of course then also provide in a way answers, then it's pointless to organize numerous workshops if we don't tackle the big challenges. So if you think that that this is a chance, or that that this is a chance for you, for youth, for your organization or for your local communities, go ahead, and I think that we can do something together. Thank you.